Hey Aaron, how's it going?
Good. How you doing?
Doing good. Doing good. Nice relaxing weekend. So a little bit of hockey, not much, but yeah, pretty pretty easy. How about yours?
Oh, not bad. It was quiet. Got some work done. Um, I actually, a funny story. I ordered my next book that I want to read. I wanted to try to tackle The Art of War by Sun Tzu, and I ordered it, and this is what I got. It's like the Cliff Notes version. As you can see, it's not quite as big as The Art of War should be. That's actually a very large book. So I have the Cliff Notes version, and I didn't even realize that when I looked on Amazon. I just ordered, the first one that I saw, and so I don't know if I'm going to read that or if I'm going to just buy the original one first.
I'll tell you what,
Or
I've got the I don't know, it's kind of a fun book. It's the Art of War, and it's actually in the original writing. I don't know if you can see that.
yeah, I see that.
I don't know, it's not probably blurry, but so part it's in Chinese and then it's translated. But I'll tell you the one that I really like because I got this book from uh, a coworker from a leader of mine, and this one was based. I don't know. We'll call it the Cliff Notes. I think there was a name for it. Let me look here. I mean, it's Sun
Maybe
Tzu.
that's
It's
what I
the Art of
got.
War, but it's a shortened version or whatever. Sort of. It's made smaller. This, everything was in here. I ended up buying the full, the full size book. Um, there's a little bit of extra, but I love it. The Art of War. I love that book. So you're going to enjoy that.
Good.
We'll get you back. Everybody's trying to figure out. You've been looking down and away from the computer for a while, so I think you're frozen. So
Yeah, I
we'll get you back
apologize.
here shortly.
As long as you can hear me, that's all that matters. My
We can
face
hear
is
you.
not really. It's not the pleasantries of my face. It's my voice that you need to hear.
Yeah, I always say I've got the face for radio. So, all
Yeah.
right. Well, let's dive in here before our jokes get everybody to leave. And so we got the
Sure.
front cover here, the first inside the cover portion here. Do you want to read it? You want me to read it, or
No, you go right ahead.
leaders are the ones who run headfirst into the unknown. They rush toward the danger. They put their own interest aside to protect us or to pull us into the future. Leaders would sooner sacrifice what is theirs to save what is ours, and they would never sacrifice what is ours to save what is theirs. This is what it means to be a leader. It means they choose to go first into danger, head first toward the unknown. And when we feel sure they will keep us safe, we will march behind them and work tirelessly to see their visions come to life and proudly call ourselves their followers. So, part
Very
five,
good.
the abstract challenge, modern abstraction.
Yes, and so we're continuing this conversation about abstraction and essentially what is going on there. And this is as we get more into the modern day era of discussion of abstraction. We were talking again about essentially being so far removed from the problem that I would say maybe we don't care, but we start making choices that are affecting humans adversely in order to save a buck or in order to um, essentially just solve what we view as the simple solution. So there's a good example in this first part in 2009. There was a known salmonella outbreak in these peanuts that were being shipped across the country, and people actually died from this. There was hundreds that were sick, and the time of writing this book, the data was still coming in. Um, what they came to find out with investigation was that this Peanut Corporation of America (PCA) knowingly shipped these tainted peanuts across the country. Now, why did they do this? Like, I mean, you're sitting there asking yourself, you're looking at it, and it's like, okay, they knew that these peanuts were going to cause sickness. Why didn't they put the brakes on it? And the answer is abstraction, because the leaders of that organization were so far removed. They had viewed that the actual problem would have been to stop all these shipments. That's the problem. In their eyes, the problem would be that we cannot not ship these peanuts because we're going to lose revenue. Yeah. We'll deal with the problems later. We'll deal with the problems down the line, no matter what they are. We just got to ship them. And that is, essentially went through and had lawsuits and almost destroyed, if not, I didn't see if there was a summary in there about actually destroying the PCA, but I'm sure they had to deal with a lot of legal outfall. But in their eyes, they were solving their own problem, and those that were actually working for these companies, they knew too. And again, you ask yourself, why did the person that was actually taking these peanuts and say putting them in the bags and putting them in the boxes, that person knew. Why didn't that person put the brakes on this? And again, it goes back to abstraction. They were just doing their job. They were doing what was told. They were told, if you don't do this, you're going to get fired.
Taking orders.
So, yes. And, to put it in terms of, what we understand, you get into a production job where you're producing and producing and producing, and you just don't really care if people are working 7 days a week, weekends and holidays, because in your eyes, you just need to get the job done. And that's the abstraction that we face on a smaller local level. We're not getting people sick per se. We probably are on the backside, but not directly getting people sick. And that's the abstraction that we face on, and it happens every day, and it's sad.
Well, and the quality of the product going out is diminished, which then who knows, right? What the outfall is from the poor quality of material going out, that could be, a failure down the road that gets somebody injured or hurt or whatever, right?
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Well, then you move on to this next slide here, number 5, and this is a very good quote, and it's very, you got to tear it apart. But Milton Friedman said there is one and only one social responsibility of business: to use its resources and engage in activities designed to increase its profits, so long as it stays within the rules of the game. That's a great quote. I like that quote. To think that you only have one sole responsibility in business, and that is to use its resources and engage in activities designed to increase its profits. That is the end game of a business. However, we must stay within the rules of the game, the quote unquote rules of the game, which you interpret that directly as laws. So legally, you should be able to create a profit without breaking the law. However, you have certain loopholes, and the 2 loopholes that are given in this book that are interesting are Apple. When Apple started becoming a huge corporation and making millions and millions of dollars, they ended up transferring a lot of their profits overseas, like a lot of smart, savvy business people do. When they start making serious money, they start transferring it overseas to pay less taxes. Now, we can be mad all we want at Apple for doing that, because those taxes should go to fund programs in the United States and so on and so forth. But fundamentally, it just makes more sense for a business to move that overseas to save the money. Why wouldn't you do that?
Yeah.
If you were given that choice, you would. However, that is a form of abstraction. That is a definitive form. We are not working within what we view as people as the rules of the game. They are breaking the law. However, in legal definitions, they are not. It is perfectly legal for a company to do that.
Yeah, there's a legal code, and then there's the moral code, right?
Yeah, that's exactly right. And then, the other example, which is sad, but it's the Titanic. When they built the Titanic, they all well knew that they didn't have enough lifeboats to save enough people. However, they did not want to obstruct the views of the folks that were on this ocean liner sailing across the Atlantic. So they afforded not to put the ships on there, or not the safety, the lifeboats.
Yeah.
Thank you. So that is a moral dilemma. What, did they break a law? No, they didn't. They didn't break a single law doing that. Did it end in disaster? Oh, you betcha it did. So it's that again, it's a form of abstraction, whether it's money or designing things and building things properly within law. Those are two different examples of abstraction that happen every day. I hope to God that we never get into a situation like the Titanic again.
Yeah, lost.
But I would be almost willing to bet that it will happen. It's hard to say that it won't. You look at this weekend we had a rocket go up with the astronauts, or last week we did. Who's to say, God forbid, that somebody doesn't cut a corner there? Yeah, that's just what we're talking about, right? Is cutting corners. Yep. People cut corners all the time, every day. So that's what we're talking about here. Is that abstraction? Is doing things, cutting corners, working outside of our moral and legal rights, essentially to save face and gain profit.
Well, I mean, it's the Boeing airline. I can't even think of what that plane is now that's been grounded for so long, but it's back up, right? But I mean that
the Max 8.
Yeah, the Max 8. There we go.
Yeah.
Being true is hard. That's kind of a funny statement.
Well, that's essentially what we're talking about. Being a truthful person, 100%. We go to church to confess our sins for a reason. It's very, very difficult to be 100% morally clean person. It is extremely difficult. I can sit here in my chair and tell you that I am not 100% morally clean person. I can say that with confidence.
Yeah. Makes two of us.
It's too damn hard. But it's within our human rights. It's in our human abilities. We see things, we want them, and we will do whatever it takes to get there. That's what these people did. Like when they built the Titanic, they wanted to build the most beautiful ship possible. So who in the hell wants to put a whole bunch of lifeboats on there and obstruct these beautiful views? They don't want to do it. They think that they're right, and they probably are in some sense. But it did end up costing a lot of life, or big life loss. So I think as humans, we tend to do the right thing in a whole. There are some bad people out there, but as a whole, we tend to do the right thing. Do we cut corners? Yeah, we do. But in general, we're not doing it in action to take somebody's life or hurt somebody. We don't think that way. And if we do it, you shouldn't be in business at all. So the good news is we really can manage these things with good, strong circles of safety. That's the good news, and that's what we'll talk about. In the next chapter is managing the abstraction, and what it does is I think it introduces that term accountability. As long as we can hold each other accountable, we can take away some of those corner cuts and hold each other accountable with a strong circle of safety. I think when you get outside your circle of safety, that's when you start dealing with those outside pressures. That's when you tend to probably want to cut corners. You're missing deadlines. You're having to carry more of a load than the other people in your circle. When your circle starts to break down, I think that's when the people within your circle just start to feel that way. They start to get that impression that I need to work harder because certain person is not working that hard. So I got to work harder. So I'm just going to start cutting corners, just to get this done. I got to get it off my plate because I got my other stuff to do. Yeah. Likewise, too, you start getting pressure. Maybe large orders are coming in. New things are being hit, and you don't have the confidence to really do your job properly. So you start cutting corners because you just want to make that customer feel okay. As long as they feel okay, then everything's fine. We don't need to impress them 100%. We should make them feel okay. So that's I think that's kind of where we're headed in the next one. But this is a very real thing. This is something that I think we deal with all the time. Maybe we don't see it as often, but it is something that I think a good, strong circle of safety can really help and aid and keep things strong.
And it's something that you've got to keep. Again, are we going to have a Titanic or another massive catastrophe like that we have a hand in? I hope to, no, hopefully, right? But you got to look at it you got to be watching for it. It's going to be smaller scale. You got to look at it. It's not going to be that, I don't want to say simple, because we would have had lifeboats, but you're not going to be able to look back at it and be like, oh, right, it's not necessarily going to be salmonella outbreak, but you got to understand what you're doing to the people that you're accountable for.
Yeah. There's a really good example too. We have to not always think of the negative abstraction, but towards the end of the chapter there, they give the example. If we remember back to the beginning of the book, the fighter pilot Johnny Bravo risked his life and his plane and his co-pilot to go down and ride the mountains, essentially, to light up a whole bunch of enemy insurgents. And that in that instance, that person was disobeying a direct order. He was told to fly back and get out of there. But you think of what he felt was morally right to do. He did that and saved a whole bunch of lives. Yeah. So there is good abstraction too. There is recognition of bad principles, or not so much bad principles, but recognizing what is right for the human good. And sure. I think that's what we can't forget, that we are out here working for the greater good of human beings and human life. And no matter what we do, what work of life that we do, we are out there looking for the greater good of humans, and we have to keep that paramount.
Yes. Yeah, that's a good example. So next week, managing the abstraction. So
managing the abstraction.
Okay. Perfect. Yeah, they're kind of short chapters, but it's nice. They're little tidbits, little bits, and then we get back into it. So that'll be good.
Yeah, and abstraction is just kind of a funny topic. It's kind of one of those things that we go through life and we see every day, but we just don't really address. We don't really talk about it, because we don't have those major. You see it on the news. If the Titanic showed up on CBS News tomorrow morning, you'd be like, oh my gosh, the world would stop, essentially. Those are those moments that the time does essentially stop. Yeah. But what we do see every day is we see those little things, those corner cuts, those abstractions away from the greater goal. We see those every day, and if we can manage them and keep everybody moving towards the greater good, then I think we're in good shape. I don't think we can catch them all, but if we can catch a lot of them, we'll be doing okay.
Well, and not becoming numb to them either, right? That they're you see enough of it that you're just like, it's not that big of a deal anymore, and becoming numb to what the to what the consequences are.
That's a good point. I mean, I think that's what essentially happens sometime in business, is you do become numb to them because you see them all the time, and that 9 times out of 10 things are probably going to be okay. So you don't think about it, but it is that one time that it doesn't go good that really can affect your business negatively. Whether it's financially, or say a person leaves or whatever, it does really affect it negatively. So but you definitely can't become numb to them. You have to stay on point with those. Good point.
Beautiful. So same time next week, same bat channel. We'll dig into chapter 15, managing the abstraction.
Yeah, I wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving. No matter what your Thanksgiving is going to look like this year, I'm sure it'll be changed, but I hope that everybody can at least have some time off and time with family, and have a good short week.
It's what it's all about, just to be able to just relax, right? Whether it's with a huge group of family or a small group of family, just relax, take a breath, and be thankful.
Yes, be thankful for what you have.
Yep. Awesome. Aaron, happy Thanksgiving to you and your family. And
you too.
We will see you next week.
Sounds good.
Awesome.
We'll see you.
Bye.